Bueno, muy buenos días a todos. De parte de Unipanamericana y su rector, el doctor Marco Ginás, queremos darles la más cordial bienvenida al International Summit, que es una iniciativa de unos inquietos académicos que tenemos acá en Colombia, liderados por nuestro decano, Gerardo, Laura, Felipe, y todo un equipo de verdad que ha trabajado en esta importante Summit. Quiero agradecerles a todos los participantes, a nuestros speakers, tanto nacionales como internacionales, su participación, su experiencia en que nos ayudemos en alianzas colaborativas a transmitir experiencias y buenas prácticas. Es sin lugar a dudas muy importante para nosotros conocer la experiencia de cada uno de ustedes, de sus países, y poder transmitir y transferir todo este conocimiento a nuestro sector productivo. I would like to thank all the speakers. I can see Roberto, I think Ruth, Antti, our international speakers. We are very glad to have you here in the International Summit. Your experiences will be very important for us in closing the gap between the industry and the university. I hope you and your families are well in these difficult times. I hope you to visit Colombia as soon as we can. So very, very thanks to you. Keep safe. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for being here. Unipanamericana is your home, and you are very welcome here. Have a great week. Thanks for all. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you so much to our director, academic director. So we'll start with our panel now. Please let me introduce our panel. I am going to show a slide with our very, appreciated experts today. Starting with Professor Roberto Viloslavo, then we expect the conference from Professor Antti Kapanen. Afterwards, we're going to have Igor Campillo and Ruth Mayoral, who are representatives from Uscampus Fundación at Spain. I'm going to start by doing a short presentation of our first speaker, Roberto Viloslavo. So, Roberto is our professor, full professor in management at the Primorska University and head of the Technology Transfer Unit in Renew COE at Slovenia. Dr. Viloslavo was awarded a doctoral degree in the field of information sciences, was vice rector for academic affairs at the University of Primorska, and have worked as vice dean for education in undergraduate studies at the Faculty of Management. He has been lecturer in different institutions, have worked in Denmark as senior research for business model innovation, and living labs under the Marie Curie program. So welcome, Dr. Viloslavo, to our conference, and please go ahead with your presentation. We are pleased to have you here.
Thank you, Felipe, for this introduction. I will just first share my presentation.
We can see it now.
Just a moment, yes, but I would like to you can see it?
We
Hope you
can
can see
see
the
it
presentation.
now. Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. So thank you very much for inviting me to participate to your international summit. Sadly, I cannot be there physically as we have this kind of pandemic situation all around the world. But I hope that even in this situation, on this our online conference will work fine. So I will have like a short presentation and some key points of my presentation. They are like, first of all, I will present the main issue why we are talking so much about the collaboration between university, industry, and government, or even society. So I think that we need first to establish what is the context, why it's so important to speak about that in today's society. Then I'm going to present very briefly the case of Slovenia, and but I need to say that we need to take very carefully our case because, as you probably know, our country is very small, and because of that, the human resource that we are available and even the financial capital that's available to us, it's not such a big, like for example, some other countries in Europe, like for example, Germany or UK or France. So our case is maybe a little bit different from them, but I'm probably pretty much sure that will be of interest anyway. Then I'm going to present some enabling factors. So what we need from the university side and what we need from company side in order that this knowledge transfer is going very smoothly, because they are like two different worlds, and we need to be very aware that there are differences between universities, there are differences between universities and companies, and if we are not aware of them, then we can go and spend a lot of time, spend a lot of money without real results. And then I will give also a short final conclusion. So just first of all, start with some, let's say, I would say pillars or some main reason why we are talking so much today about the knowledge and so on. Probably we can start with one management guru, Peter Drucker. So Peter Drucker already in 1993 said that the main economic resource is knowledge. So not financial capital, not land, not labor, but knowledge. So if you want to achieve a competitive advantage, we need to work on knowledge. So everything was based on knowledge. So this was first of all like an idea that he later developed also in some other works. But based on that, we can see how important is knowledge if we compare with money, because sometimes it was the idea that you just need a lot of money and then everything would be fine. Or if you compare with land, or if you compare with labor. So I would say just with workforce. So not land, not labor, not financial capital are so important like it's knowledge. So probably this is, let's say, the first, from my point of view, the first critical moment. The second one, it was when we developed the concept of knowledge society. So the knowledge society was somehow is based on the same idea that Drucker pointed out, but is going to bring the whole concept not only on the company level, because Drucker's idea was mostly based on what is going inside the companies, inside, I would say, for-profit organization. But when we're going to speak about knowledge society, it's not just about organization, it's not just about the companies, it's about the whole society. So the idea of knowledge society that was developed also later in the 1990s brings forward that we are not going to speak about companies, or we are going to speak about the universities, or we are going to speak about the government, but we need to consider how all of them to bring together in order to create, first of all, to create, and then also to apply new knowledge. So I would say the second concept, very important for our collaboration, is the concept of knowledge society. And the third concept, in my view, is the concept of open innovation. So when the concept of open innovation developed, it was very clearly that we cannot continue with research and development inside companies, but that we need to open our door for the knowledge that's coming out of our companies, and at the same time we need to be open to share our knowledge with the other companies. So the concept of open innovation was really something that pushed the companies, maybe even more than the universities, that they need to reconsider their own research and development process. We know that before open innovation, companies were much more close. So the basic idea it was, I have my research and development department. I'm going to develop some innovative solution inside it, and I'm going to use it or apply it. Open innovation was clearly demonstrated that this is very much a not effective and not efficient approach for knowledge creation. Because first of all, every research and development department, it's limited somehow. Second, even if you're going to develop some kind of solution, you never know if this solution is going to be used inside your company or not. Because sometimes your researcher, they can develop some kind of solution, but you cannot develop a new product based on that, or you cannot innovate your own processes. But if you consider open innovation, you can always find a market for your new ideas. You can always find another companies, or maybe even the university, or maybe another non-profit companies that can be interested in your idea or can apply your ideas. And the same is also valid if you're going to consider the point of view of the university. So in my view, first of all, we need to consider these three pillars, like the basic source, why we are going and why it's so important that we need to develop a kind of, let's say, business ecosystem between university, industry, and government. Then these three ideas develop what we are calling now like a triple and quadruple helix. Some researchers prefer to speak still about the triple helix. Some others speak about the quadruple helix. And you can find even some researchers that already speak about the quintuple helix. But it's some pretty nasty word, I can say, but it's very easy to understand. Because when we speak about the triple helix, we speak about the university, government, and industry. When we're going to speak about quadruple helix, we speak about university, government, industry, and also civil society. So as in some way, we make the whole view of the ecosystem even broader. It's not just about this triangle that's going to be developed between the university, government, and industry, but we need to consider also what kind of needs our society has. For example, now with this situation, with this pandemic situation that we had, it's not just about the government that can put money in the industry or university research centers in order to find a proper solution, in order to find a proper drugs, somehow to help us to solve this critical issue, but it's the whole society involved in that. So we need to understand what is the society best interest, what is in the needs of the society, because it's not just about solving our, let's say, health problems. Please don't misunderstand me, but it's also about our psychological problems that we have because we are close, because we cannot go outside, because we cannot meet our friends, and so on. So the quadruple helix is going to consider the society as another part that can also create new knowledge and can also apply a new creating knowledge. This is very important in my view. And another view is that universities develop what we are calling now like a third mission of the university. I mean, all of us know that each university has at least two missions. One is teaching, which is probably one of the first and the most traditional. For somebody, it's even the most important. The second mission is research, so creating of new knowledge. And the third mission, it's not just creating new knowledge, but it's trying to solve some critical problems for the industry, for the society, in order to create higher wealth for everybody. So it's not that we are going to create some knowledge that maybe it cannot be applied for anybody, or it's maybe too expensive, or it's not of any use at the moment. But it's also to be very clear how we, through our university academics, through the policies that we have, through the processes that we have at the university, how we can solve some really practical problems in the industry, how we can solve some very practical problems even for the government, how we can solve some practical problems for our civil society, in order that the whole society or the whole country has a benefit from that. In order that the university can really achieve this third mission, it needs somehow to develop a kind of new identity. I can say that it's a kind of new identity because it needs to go beyond the traditional identity that university has. So we say that university needs to be like a proactive partner in the co-creation. And I think it's very important. Today we are not speaking so much anymore about creating knowledge, but we speak about co-creating knowledge. So the basic idea is how we can, at the university level, bring the knowledge that's going to be developed in the industry, that's going to be developed in the society, how we can bring this knowledge inside our research processes in order to develop new knowledge, in order to support achieving some clear benefits and some clear goals. And why I'm saying this? Because sometimes it's not so easy for the universities to adapt to this new situation. For the university, it was very easy to say, look, we have the higher academics title. Our researchers have all the PhD. We have the best possible knowledge in the local society or in the country and so on. So we are like the smartest, in the country. But if you develop the idea of co-creation, it's not any point, it's not the question who is the smartest, but how we can use our own knowledge in order to create something new. So I think that we need to consider all this, and if you take just a triple helix, this is one of the pictures that probably you know already very well. We can see that all three parties they can bring something in this knowledge sharing process. Universities can bring some research activities and then can choose some patents, publication, joint projects, training and development for the industry and even for the government and so on. Also, government can bring something from its side. It's not just about the money that they can put in. It's not just about the budget, the research budget that they can give to the university or they can give to the industry, but it's the whole policy issue. Because government, with the decision that is going to make regarding the policy issue, how they're going to support universities or how they're going to support the industry, or which, let's say, industry sector is the most important for the government at the moment, or which one is going to be the most important for the next 5, 10, or maybe even 15 years in the future. So this kind of decisions are very important, how we are going to develop the knowledge sharing process. And as well, industry has also something to bring. It's about the spin-off, it's about equipment, it's about marketing. We know that many times industry is much better to market some new ideas, to market some new products than, for example, university is. Or sometimes industry is much closer to the market. So it's much better to know what are the needs of the market. Maybe because university sometimes is like in this, we can say, this tower in some house is close and it's not really speaking to the market. But industry cannot do in that way. So industry needs to speak to the market. So they are very well known what are the market needs. So we can see that in this triple helix model, each of the partners can bring something of the value to this knowledge sharing. But as I said before, and I will mention later also, we need also to consider that each of them, but most probably university and industry, they are also different. They have different culture, they have different objectives, they have different processes relating to the research and development activities. So if everything is going well, if everything is going smoothly, if everything is working well, so then we can see that university has some clear advantages. Here you can see at least 3 of them, but there are even more. For example, they can exchange the research results. They can, for example, consider how to make money from their intellectual property rights. They can make or start a new startups from the university and so on. They can also exchange experience, and this kind of experience can improve the whole educational programs. So it's not about teaching that's going to be just, you know, an academic in front of the students talking about big theories and so on, but it's really something that can be a real practice where we can bring students in the industry, give them real problems, trying to solve them given the proper tools, explain them how they need to work, how they need to approach these industry problems in order not just to develop solutions, that is the outcome of that process, but also how to develop their own knowledge in order to improve themselves. And also it's a kind of additional sources of funding that is always welcome from each university. So now I'm going to present you a little bit of situation in Slovenia. As I said before, you need to consider these, let's say, elements that they're going to present. You really need to consider that we are like really a small country. So Slovenia is like less than 2 million population. And for example, our GDP is really like just a few percent if you compare, as I said before, with some big European countries. Anyway, brief analysis of the situation in Slovenia brought out that we have like a, let's say, strange situation. On one side, we have a pretty high number of publications. So if you consider universities and academics, we are really able to produce a big number of new articles. We are very good to produce a big number of new books, etc. But despite this big, large volume of scientific publication, we have a problem that we are not so better in bringing some very top, to bring our articles in very top journals, to bring really something that's completely new. And this is, let's say, one of the problems. Another problem is that our research is mostly oriented to the basic research. I will say that to the fundamental research. So something that's going to be of use, but in the long-term side. The reason for that is because probably mainly our universities are public university. So we are paid from the government. And just, let's say, 10 years ago, maybe, or 15 years ago, there were not much need for these universities to go outside, to speak with the industry, to try to find or to develop some kind of applied solutions for them. There was enough money from the government that paid for the research funding, and universities were very much focused on how to develop some basic research instead to develop some, let's say, applied research. And because of that, we can see that many times it's a little bit of a problem when our universities talk to the companies, because it's like they are talking, even they talk both in the Slovene, but it's like they are talking different languages. So they have a problem to understand each other. Also, we can see that the problem we have is that even we have a lot of new ideas that we develop, and even we invest a lot of money in the basic research, there are not so many innovation. So somehow we are not able to bring the ideas to the stage where it can be really like a innovative market products or innovative market processes. So this is another problem that we have it in our country and that we are trying to solve. Anyway, please consider that everything is so critical. As I said before, we are very good in some parts, and we have some very good researchers. They are not only world known, but they are also doing very well with the companies. Okay, let's say what was our what we found out. So what are, in our view, the three key characteristics of the industry? Of the university, in order to get proper, efficient, and effective knowledge exchange. So the first characteristic is, in our view, that university has a lot and strong links with different incubators, science parks, and so on. I can say that within our, let's say, government policy, we have a strategy for a research strategy that's going to be developed every 5 years. And all the tools, they are known around the world, how to develop university incubators, how to develop science park, how to develop technopolis, and so on. They are very well known, but not all of them are used in very efficient way. At least in Slovenia, what we find out is that university incubators are working at the best. So if you compare the money that's going to be invested in them and the outcome that we got from them, is the best ratio. So somehow university incubators work, it seems they are like our best approach if you want to share knowledge. Even if you have, as I said, some other solutions that we use it like Science Park and so on. Another key characteristic that we find out is that university needs to provide an opportunity for staff and students to go in the companies. It was somehow like a problem because this practical side of the university has like a, I can say, like a bad reputation. It was like saying, okay, if you send the students to the companies, they are mostly just preparing coffee for the managers, you know, or doing something else, but nothing really important. They are not going to learn something. But that's not always true. And even this situation is going to be changed. It's not just that students are going to the companies without any clear plan what they're going to do, what they're going to learn. So this kind of situation is going to be much more different. And also we are much more flexible now in order that people that work at the university, they can also work for a certain percentage. They can also work in the industry. So it can be like 50% working in the company and 50% working at the university, or something like 60-40 and so on. That was something before, it was something very rigid. So it was like if you work or 100% for the university, or you can just be like a outside collaborator, but without a real access to the university space, equipment, and so on. And the first characteristic that we find out is that, at least in Slovenia, university needs to take a central position in this ecosystem. When the one company, even if the big company, took a central position, we found out that after a while, this knowledge ecosystem didn't work well. Most probably because the interest for the company was as long as they have a problem to solve. When they got a solution for their problem they were looking for, they were not anymore interested to be like a central, a focus of this knowledge ecosystem. They somehow lose this interest. So from our point, it's much more important that university is going to take this central position. And around the university, we are going to develop the whole ecosystem that then includes different companies, small and big one. It's going to include startups. It's going somehow to include the local community. that's going to include representatives of the government and so on. So at least in our country, that was pretty much critical. If you take a look from the company side, we found out that there are like 8 enabling factors that pretty much influence if this knowledge sharing is going well or not. First of all, companies need to see that cooperation within such an ecosystem needs to provide them with a clear competitive advantage. So if the company doesn't see there's any competitive advantage for them to be part of that, they prefer to stay out of it. They don't want to enter, they don't want to bring their own knowledge, resources, and so on. The second enabling factor is that it's not just about the management decision. It's about the whole stakeholders of the company. So, or they have an interest to innovate products, and they have an interest to invest and support the innovation activities or not. If the stakeholders, they don't have this kind of interest, that they prefer to work on, let's say, only on the efficiency of the business processes, or they want just to, let's say, use the old products in the already established market in order to make as much money as possible, then this kind of companies will not go and work well in the ecosystem. The third thing is that company needs to be that wants to lead not just from the technological point of view. They are not just looking for technological innovation, but they are looking also for the process innovation. Why is that so important? Because I said before, we are not a big country. Our financial resources are limited, and sometimes to develop a technological innovation, we need so much money for that we are not really able to do it. So somehow we have some limits from that side. But if you look from the process innovation, if you look on that side, which is much less, I say, financially demanded, we can bring a lot of different solutions. So it's better if the company is looking not just for technological innovation, but it's looking also for the process innovation. Another thing that we find out that's also important is that companies need to be willing to collaborate with the domestic knowledge institutions. I don't know how is that, for example, in South America or Colombia in that case, but for example, in Slovenia in the 1990s, a lot of companies tried to collaborate not with domestic knowledge institutions, but with foreign one. So they prefer to work with, I don't know, with a research company from Germany or Italy or France. Basically, the idea it was that the knowledge of these research centers was somehow better than the knowledge of the domestic knowledge institutions. So we need to change this point of view, and we need companies that really prefer and want to work with the domestic knowledge institutions. But at the same time, yes, these knowledge institutions, universities, research centers need to be open to foreign institutions in order to exchange their experience and knowledge. Another 4 factors that I think are also important is that when the university is going to bring a kind of solution, it needs to be very specific. So companies are not there waiting for some solution that can work or that can be included in new products in 5, 10, 15 years. They want some concrete solution that can work today, that can be bring to the market very soon, and they can be exchanged from, let's say, knowledge that can be exchanged into real money and profit. So they want specific solutions for specific problems. Another thing is that we need educated human resources. So somehow it's the expectation of the company that it's not just the academics that work with them in these common research projects, but that also help some young students develop such a level of knowledge that can be of use later on, or they can be employed by the same companies. So they are looking for, let's say, young engineers. They are looking for new people in the marketing, or they are looking for new people in the production and so on. They are very well educated, highly educated. They can be employed by them because they think that these new young people, they can bring some new, fresh knowledge that they needed. Another thing also important is if the knowledge institution can bring a kind of quality assurance. So if they can bring to the companies certification that if this is done in that way, or if you're going to speak about this specific product, or if you're going to speak about this specific process, that this is done in the way that's going really to have a kind of quality that is expected from the market. And one of also critical points is that companies need to have a proper absorptive capacity. We found out that sometimes the problem is not on the side of the university. The problem is on the side of the companies because they are not able to understand what the universities, what kind of knowledge they're going to bring to them. So they don't have enough knowledge in order to understand how they can apply knowledge that university is bringing to them. So we are calling this, like it's very well known concept from the research, is calling the absorptive capacity. So you need in the company to have enough people, they have enough knowledge, and you need to have enough own research and development capacity that you can understand what this new knowledge is and how you can apply it in order to develop new products, in order to develop new processes. So this is the kind of experience that we have in my own country, and I hope it can be also something that we can share with you in order that we can see if that's something, a similar situation in your country as is, for example, in Slovenia. So just for the final conclusion, in order to finish my presentation, first of all, I believe that trust is a key factor for knowledge exchange. That's not just about that we are going to speak internally to the company, because even internally to the company, if that's not a trust between different individuals, if that's not a trust between different departments, knowledge exchange will never happen. But when we're going to speak about the ecosystem that's composed from the government, industry, and university, trust is a key factor that we need to develop, and we need to take care in order that knowledge exchange is really is going smoothly. The problem is that in order to develop trust, we need time. We cannot develop trust in 1 day or even 1 month or even in 6 months or something like that. So we need to collaborate, and during this collaboration time, we're going slowly to develop trust. But on the other side, we can lose trust very, very quickly. The second point is that we need to be clearly aware that the objectives between the university and the companies regarding the knowledge sharing and so on is pretty much different. The university has a long-term orientation. Companies have a short-term orientation. Universities want to have like a open research, so sharing their knowledge, publish the papers, and so on. Companies prefer to have a closed research, so keep it inside the companies, trying to use the APR, patents, and so on. So, and then it's also the whole culture that's different. Research doing at the university level is like is very important. It gives you like a pedigree, I would say. On the other side, research in the company is much more oriented to solving real problems. Is much more oriented to giving something to the market in order to make profit. It's more about money. It's more about profit orientation. It's more about solving problem. The third point is that we need to consider that universities, at least the big universities, and most probably public universities, they will not change very quickly. So even if you're going to speak a lot about disruptive innovation in the last 5 or 10 years, universities are most probably not a kind of organization that's going to be changed very quickly. So university can need to adapt, and they're going to adapt slowly. it can be different if you consider maybe some private universities, some young private universities, because are much more flexible, adaptable, and so on. But in that case, most of the time we can see that these universities have less resources, have less financial resources, have less human resources. So the impact is not so big as, for example, of some big public universities. But there, the processes, they're going to be not so quick, but going to be pretty much slow. And let's say the final conclusion that I would like to say, it's mostly oriented to the university leaders or managers. The situation in which universities are today, it's quite complex, I would say. As I said, it's not just about teaching, it's not just about research, it's about collaborating with the society, government, and industry. And it's not about making a trade-off. It's not about saying, okay, I will do more of that and less of that. It's about trying to do everything that I said, or everything at the best possible level. So we need to find out how we can educate our students in the best possible way, how we can offer the best possible research processes, and also at the same time, how we can deal or lead the ecosystem in order to be a good partner to the industry and to the government. And here we need really to find like a kind of balance between all these demands that sometimes can be pretty much different. So I would say this is like my conclusion of my presentation. As I said before, I would like first to give you some like a picture of the context of why we're going to speak so much about the ecosystem and the knowledge exchange between these three parties, and the kind of experience that we have in Slovenia. And hopefully, I will hope it was of interest also for you. And at the end, I can just say thank you. And if you have any questions that you want to give to me, this is my email address, and I will be happy to get your feedback. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Vildoslao, for your very deep presentation. I have a bunch of questions regarding your presentation, but of course we're going to have these questions at the end of the session. And the people is starting to participate at the chat, so we will see later how we're going to solve these questions. For now, please let me introduce Antti Kapanen, currently Research Associate Professor at the MBA&E program at HTW Berlin, Germany, with focus on business administration, labor markets, education markets, employability, and education sciences. He's actively involved in international education, and he is conducting his PhD research on international graduate employability at the Glasgow Caledonian University in Scotland. So welcome, Professor Antti. Good morning. It is good evening for you at Finland right now. So please go ahead with your presentation, and thank you.
Thank you very much for the introduction, Felipe, and thank you very much for the first presentation, Roberto. It's a good thing too that I did not prepare to present again the basics that Roberto was going through. I hope that everybody can see my presentation right now. Can you confirm that?
Yes, we can, Antti. Go ahead.
Very good. Thank you very much. So excellent. I am always happy to collaborate with you, Felipe, and with the Unipanamericana in specific. And so it's a pleasure to talk to you today. As Felipe mentioned, I'm working at the HTW Berlin in Germany. And but I'm originally from Finland, and right now I'm actually located in Finland. So this is why the introduction in that way. Yeah, just a couple of words. The HTW is an applied sciences university located in Berlin, in the German capital. We are a very diverse school We have 5 departments. 2 of them are in the area of business, 2 of them are in the area of engineering and technology, and then 1 is kind of collecting diverse study programs from the areas like culture, for example. We have design, photography, renovation, restoration. So this kind of diversity of topics, basically. And this diversity also makes us very cross-disciplinary in the ways of research, basically. As I will show you later, we combine a lot of different human resources from different departments and then conduct research projects in a way that we get a lot of different insights on topics from a variety of people. Indeed, we have about 14,000 students right now, out of them 3,000 international people, including quite a few Colombians. We have 280 professors and 800 people teaching at the HW from outside, and many of them are business practitioners. And this is one of the really important elements for our university, to keep in touch with the business and with the industry, so that we get basically a knowledge inflow from companies to the university, and that we are teaching as an applied sciences university that is very practice-oriented and career-oriented, that we are teaching the students what is actually going on in the industry, in addition, of course, to the kind of the theoretical knowledge that they need to have. So, being an applied sciences university, we conduct research that often has a very particular aim, a practical aim. We try to solve problems in the society, in the business, and basically looking into the future and focusing. We have an international focus, yes, or international basically scope to some extent, but I think most of the work that we do in research is oriented toward solving acute and upcoming important or even crucial problems in our country, in our city, in our state, in our country, basically. And I think this is one of the leading thoughts of research at the school. So I'm not going to go deeper into the ideas of that are basically behind the collaboration between the university, the industry, and the state, because this was also, I don't have that material here, but that was also so well covered by Roberto that we should avoid overlapping here, redundancy. But what I would really like to show you is a couple of examples. First of all, about the HW Berlin, I'd like to tell to you how we in particular coordinate and organize our research in a way that it enables us to, first of all, have a profile on the market for research in the society, in the business, and then also to basically combine our strengths and take the best possible advantage of them when we conduct research. I'd like to start here by giving you a very brief picture, kind of an overview of how research activities are organized at the HW Berlin. So we have basically the biggest or the highest level of guiding principles are the research focus areas at the HW. On this little illustrative picture here, that of course does not represent the full reality, or you don't need to start counting dots there, but it's an illustrative picture. You can see the big light green circles that would represent the research focus areas at the HW. These are typically areas that relate to major societal and economic problems in the society. We are at the moment, we have 5 areas at the moment. We have expanded our research focus lately. We have an area called Industry and Employment in the Future. So we are looking there at things like Industry 4.0, digital networking of the business, the changing content of work, the changing context of work, qualifications, for example, these kind of areas. We have a focus, very clearly defined focus area on the renewable energies and energy efficiency. So There we are talking about areas how to make, for example, solar power or other regenerative energy sources more feasible, economic, sustainable, technically, economically as well. For example, we have ongoing research about how to store energy and how to create this kind of basically cross-system networks in energy. Let's say that you have electric cars connected to a network, you have solar energy sources, you have battery systems, you have traditional power plants, you have houses, and so forth. So how to basically coordinate energy across these fronts. That would be an example there. We have a healthcare research focus that has to do with the one very important area is the funding of healthcare, and another important area is the combination of technology and healthcare and the aging society. You may know that in Europe, including Germany, we have an aging population. So basically, we have a very big sort of bubble of a few generations that are now bit by bit reaching the retirement age, and we are looking at the at that problem, how to deal with it in the best possible way. We have culture and the creative economy. We focus there on things like the internet and the culture, the impact of the internet on cultural development of society. And then we have a relatively new area that's called World Cultural Heritage. So there are researchers from the areas of culture are looking at questions of how to, for example, maintain and retain the cultural treasure of our world. So these would be basically our major challenge areas that we address. So we work in research clusters that are kind of, you could call them semi-permanent structures. They comprise people who come together and often set up a pool of resources, a pool of competencies, and then carry out multiple projects within that cluster, so they can have a focus. For example, a cluster, what I mentioned before, could be about storing energy. That could be one example of a research cluster. And then we have projects, so projects that have a beginning and an end and a very clear scope in them, and they can then exist typically within the clusters, but they can also exist outside the clusters. And it's also possible to set up a research project outside any one of the particular focus areas of the HW. So we try to give that kind of focus in order to profile ourselves, but at the same time provide the people with the flexibility to carry out research in the way they want. Organization-wise, we operate an office called the Contact. The Contact is a center that is basically the first interface for a company or another research institution, or also the state, could be a ministry, for example, who would like to contact the HW and then carry out any kind of research activity with us. And so the Contact office is very important for us. And I don't know if your particular universities have this kind of offices and how they are organized, but in our case, it's become a really, really important part of the HTW to have this kind of office that's at the same time a contact point and can establish contacts all over the HTW, basically identify people, create networks or connect people together. But also, you might know that many people at least have this stereotype that Germany is a relatively bureaucratic country, and that's also absolutely right. As well as, of course, we deal with the European Union. So there's and Felipe and Roberto, among other people, have a lot of experiences of the European Union bureaucracy. And so we have an office there that has the competency of taking care of this bureaucracy that's needed. And so this office is something that's really an important part of our interfacing strategy with the business and the state. About the other topics, I'm not going deeper into them. I'm just mentioning them. We do have a startup competence center That is, like Roberto mentioned before, it's a very important part of university to disseminate, commercialize knowledge in the form of innovation and startups. We do some level of advisory there, and we also rent some spaces for startups, as well as then coordinate funding sources for companies. We are a member of the IFAF, that's an Applied Research Institute, where we pool together with other schools. That's also another very important part of research, because very often as a coalition you can achieve so much more than as an alone-standing university. We have a student consultancy that's great. They're generating some contacts outside the school, but for the research, let's say the framework, they're not so important in research itself. It's more like employability for the students. And then we do have associated institutes that are founded for particular purposes then, and they can, for example, be companies as well. So you can have a limited company that is, for example, selling out research. So this is our research framework at the I+D+i, and so what we'd like to have is a clear strategy and flexibility at the same time, and this is a balance that is not always easy to find, but we are constantly looking for it. So we have formulated in 2012 a research strategy for the university. And there are a lot of items there. I'm pointing your attention to a few of them. One of them is to clearly state that research serves as the connection between the academia and business practice. So because we are an applied sciences university, we are not doing like Roberto's university in Slovenia. They are doing more fundamental or basic research, but we are doing mainly applied or nearly completely applied research only. And what is very important part of the research that we do is having an impact. So we would like to solve problems through the research. And this is why it's so important to see research as the bridge in between the academia and the business practice. We would like to promote contract research for exactly the reasons that Roberto also mentioned, that it's very important and very useful for our professors and our teachers to go out of the university, carry out projects for business partners, learn, bring that knowledge back to the university and disseminate it then through the teaching. So what we also see then, teaching is a very important area of research impact. Actually, it's not only the end result, but it's also the learning disseminated through the teaching. And then basically the rest of the topics here I already mentioned before, profiling and supporting the regional economy and the society. I'd just like to take you through a couple of examples of the research that we are doing. That said, we have many projects going on. There's a database of HW projects. We even have a project going on in Colombia. That's a sustainability project in Nariño. So we do have international projects. We have national projects. We have a lot of different areas going on in there. So if you're interested in doing something with the HW, you are free to send me an email, and I can, of course, distribute the links and establish connections between people. But here, I'd just like to give 3 examples just in order to demonstrate what kind of work we are doing. The example project 1 is called Co-Learn Media. It's about collaboration, learning, and transfer with digital media. It's basically the whole project. We're only part of it. The whole project is about developing a framework for occupational qualification, as well as a kind of a learning cluster. So the framework means that we set up there a network with practices and with media, with schedules, with contents, and so forth, for qualifying and basically reskilling or requalifying workforce. And then a learning cluster means that we would like to bring together a range of companies to share on the resources. And this was the key point for getting public financing for it as well. So this could be an example of a university industry state collaboration. We are funded by the Federal Ministry of Education and Research. And we have built a coalition there that consists of one research institute on occupational education. Then we have one training provider and 3 companies, as well as the HDW Berlin. The second example is called NOVA. It's a simpler project for sure. This is about process-oriented materials flow management for a company called NovaPax. That is mainly an automotive supplier, and they are working with the HDW on a university to company basis to develop Industry 4.0 based materials flow solution. So we are looking there at networked technologies in order to get better supply security in place, for example, monitoring, controlling, and this kind of things. But what's a special thing about this project is that we are basically we collaborate one-to-one with the company, but we are funded by a foundation called the German Federal Environmental Foundation. And they're providing funding in order for the HCW to use our channels that the company or a private consultancy would not use to formulate and then disseminate the knowledge on a general level that we generate in the project. Because basically NovaPax is not a big company, but they're a very professional company. And there are many companies that are compatible in Germany, and what we would like to see is that the other companies would also learn and benefit of the solution that's created for NovaPax. Then the last example project would be, it's called Imprompt. It's about chemical processes. So you can see we have quite a diversity of research going on at the school. It's called Integrated Chemical Processes in Liquid Multiphase Systems. This is about replacing fossil fuels with renewable materials in processes. This is one example of a large-scale state-coordinated research effort. So basically, we cooperate with the German state there, and the small research group at the HCW carrying out a sub-project of a much bigger project. And this is maybe also something interesting for the other universities here participating to take a look at. Can you identify either also basically national or international level projects where you would see that, okay, well, your university might not be big enough to carry out a project like that, but you might be able to contribute or participate in some part of that project. So this kind of opportunities can also give people, in particular the people, for example, who participate in this Imprompt project, learn a lot of it because they get to work together with people from different bigger institutions, for example, and get those networks in place, and maybe also go for a continuation, because this project is already now in the 3rd round of funding, so there's a certain continuity to it as well. So yeah, that's it about my presentation, and thank you very much for listening. I'm happy to answer any questions either right now in our Q&A after the other presentations, or by email. Feel free to contact me that way as well.
Thank you so much, Antti. I think your presentation was very descriptive of real cases or the practice of transferring knowledge to real life. So I understand that perhaps we're going to have some questions for you too. Very nice. Thank you so much. Next, please let me introduce 2 people from Spain, which are involved at the foundation that we are going to expect to have some words describing the foundation and how this foundation works with other actors in Spain. It is Euskampus Fundación, and it is related with for GUN at Spain. We have Igor Campillo, director of this foundation, and he's in charge of designing and implementing this foundation strategy and overall performance. Welcome, Igor. Good afternoon for you at Spain. And we have Ruth Mayoral, currently head of custom programs at Euskampus Fundación. We expect from you to tell us about your experiences, and welcome to this conference. Thank you so much for participating. We are in your hands now. You can share your presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. So I will just share the presentation. I will put in full screen. Okay, just a moment. Can you see it?
Yes, we can see it. Thank you.
Okay. Okay.
Igor is not in full screen.
Is not in full screen?
No.
Okay. Just a moment, please. Sorry. Just a moment. Is it now?
Wait for it.
Oh yes, I know what.
No.
Sorry. I know. I will share the. Yeah. Just a moment. Sorry for this.
No problem at all.
I will leave compartir, and then I will. If I choose this presentation, is it now?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, thank you very much for your patience. So good afternoon, everybody, and thanks a lot for your interest in our initiative. My name is Igor Campillo, as has been already said, and I am the director of Euskampus Foundation here in the Basque Country. Together with me is Ruth Mayoral. She is the program manager at Euskampus Foundation. We are sharing this virtual presentation, although we are in different locations right now. So just let me say a few words about Euskampus first, because our entity, Euskampus Foundation, is a catalyzer for interdisciplinary and multi-agent collaboration with the aim to enhance the co-leadership of our patrons and its partners in the Basque Country and in the Nouvelle Aquitaine in France. We work on strengthening the relationships, the connection, and mutual trust of our partners in order to increase their joint impact in the Basque territory and internationally. Euskampus operates as a facilitator for co-creation dynamics with universities, research centers, companies, public administrations, and civil society organizations to boost challenge-driven cooperative actions that engage students, academics, and professionals. We design, promote, and deploy custom services and projects to respond to the training, research, and innovation challenges of such entities and their stakeholders. The initiative that we are presenting today is one of them. It is called Laugune, Forgune, which means in Basque the fourth space. And in a few words, what we can say is that we are building a cluster of Basque university centers and industry to face Industry 4.0 challenges. But before starting to explain this initiative, I will just give you some facts and figures of our small biodynamic country, the Basque Country, which is in the south of Europe, in the border between Spain and France, as you can see in the slide. We are about 2.2 million people, and as you can see, our GDP per capita and the presence of industrial sector are above the average of the Eurozone. But, well, not everything that glitters is gold, and our public expense in research and development is smaller than the average of Europe, and the unemployment rate is higher. Today, the strongest industrial sectors of the Basque Country's economy are the automotive, machine, aeronautics, and energy sectors. It is, in fact, one of the most dynamic regions of Spain, with a strong industrial tradition and very well connected with the rest of Europe, but also with Latin America because our cultural proximity. So we are very happy to have been invited to share with you in this meeting, which is organized by our Colombian colleagues. In 2017, the Basque government Department of Education, which has higher education full competences in the Basque country, designed the first Basque University business strategy with two main aims. First, talent generation, and second, knowledge generation and transfer, two plain and straightforward objectives. The strategy has been operationalized through 15 actions. The three most relevant initiatives are, first, the promotion and widespread of higher dual education, which was pioneered by the Basque country in Spain since 2011. Second, the connection of vocational training and higher education. And third, the clusterization of faculties and schools to better connect universities with the smart specialization strategy of the Basque country. Forgune, Lau means for in Basque, is the first initiative crystallizing this third action line dealing with clusterization. As I already mentioned, it was officially launched in July 2017 with the objective of helping strengthen university plus business cooperation in the Basque country as part of the new global stage and the Industry 4.0 paradigm. The first Basque University Business Strategy 2022 has been awarded as a good practice in the latest Education and Training Monitor for Spain of the European Commission that was released in October 2019, last year. Indeed, Laugune is the result of the convergence of the Basque RIS3 and the University Business Strategy. Therefore, we can claim that Forgune Laugune fully responds to the very first University plus Industry Basque strategy and the Basque country RIS3. Euskampus Foundation, our entity, is the entity that has been commissioned by the Department of Education of the Basque government for the operational coordination of Forgune, facilitating the correct understanding of the different university centers with the rest of the main stakeholders, society, public administration, and the business fabric in the Basque country. And now I give the floor to Ruth, who will continue with this presentation. So Ruth, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Igor. Okay, so then what is specifically Laugune, Forgune? Basically, Laugune is a systemic initiative promoted by the Basque government to maximize engagement of Basque universities with industry to lead the next industrial transformation. In the picture, you can see who are the members of Laugune. In addition to the university, faculties, and schools, other key actors in the Basque country are part of Laugune, such as the Basque Business Confederation, the Basque Innovation Agency, the Basque Agency for Competitiveness, and the Automotive Intelligence Center. Therefore, Laugune configurates a rich and diverse ecosystem of higher education and innovation in the Basque country. We can highlight a series of differential values that make Laugune, Forgune, an example to replicate. The first one is that Laugune is made by the centers, faculties, and schools. The second one, Laugune works with a systemic approach. The proposals are based on co-creation, and finally, cross-border connect with other international agents. Inspired by these core values, Laugune Cluster has carried out of the following main activities so far. The first one, you can see on your left, I think, mapping the training, research, transfer, and equipment capacities of the Laugune member university centers. The second one, Business Plus University program. Then Executive Training Program Industry 4.0. And finally, Cross-Border Laboratory of Technological Intelligence. Focusing on the map of capacities, this map reflects the detailed reality of the Basque university system in relation to Industry 4.0. We have mapped 222 capacities of the Basque university system connected to or having an impact in Industry 4.0. 50% of those capacities are teaching and training offer in the form of grades, master, and long-lengthening programs and courses. 33% are research groups, departments, or divisions. 6% are capacities for transfer, mainly university institutes and chairs. And finally, 12% are state-of-the-art facilities. The operation of the map allows to see the university offer in Industry 4.0 according to its position in relation to the breakdown of core activities of companies, such as R&D, logistics, marketing, and so on. For its capacity, either training or research or transfer, and for each field of Industry 4.0. For example, additive manufacturing, cybersecurity, Internet of Things, augmented reality, and so on. You can reach the map at Lagune website, but we are sorry it is only in Spanish, but in a short coming update it will be in English as well. So our second main action line, the Business plus University program. The objective of this program is to bring the university closer to the companies, promoting practical collaboration between the two through business challenges aimed at activating university capacities, leading to the direct participation of university students and university teachers as well. How does it work? Students from the Laguna University centers respond to the challenges raised by companies from a specific sector through the implementation of projects co-supervised by teaching staff and company managers. The projects may be carried out individually by students, leading to end-of-degree projects or master thesis, or by a group of students, typically 20 more or less, in the heart of a subject area. The program has already been tested through 2 pilot calls with the Automotive Intelligence Center, a research and innovation platform of the Basque Automotive Cluster here in Basque Country, and has obtained very good results. In this slide, we show you some of the first results quantified in the second Business plus University call with the Automotive Intelligence Cluster, as I said, and just to comment some of the general results of the program so far. In addition to Laguna University centers, more than 22 companies are behind the challenges, more than 400 students have been engaged, and more than 12 challenges have been solved. Given the positive results for companies, teachers, and university centers, and the students themselves, of course, in a position to open the program to other leading sectors in the Basque Country. And finally, cross-border laboratory of technological intelligence. The main objective of this program is to acquire technological intelligence competencies so that Laguna members can carry out prospecting and technological surveillance activity to detect trends, opportunities, and niches of technological development for the different areas of the Basque history. It is carried out with via INO researchers. They are a social innovation center of the University of Bordeaux, embedded within the research group in theoretical and applied economics. Therefore, this program represents the first connection of Laguna with another European region. The cross-border laboratory of technological intelligence is placed at the disposal of these 3 groups for the work of foresight and technological surveillance with the aim of responding to current issues of greatest interest to the different sectors involved. For example, hydrogen as an energy vector for transport, or applications of artificial intelligence in the manufacturing environment. The executive training program, starting from the analysis work carried out jointly between Euskampus Foundation and the Basque Industry 4.0 steering group, by cross-linking expected technical and business competencies for transitioning to Industry 4.0 with the Lagune capabilities map. The analysis revealed the need to design an executive program tailored to CEOs and top managers of Basque Country companies. So the greatest innovation of this program, the executive training program, are firstly educational innovation, the creation of an executive program made up of all Basque universities working together. This aspect involves innovation also in terms of accreditation. Business innovation, it is a program created from the business demand, not from the university offer. And finally, methodological innovation. The distribution of the subjects and modules of the program is shared by the universities. That is, the organization does not respond to a distributed logic or distribution of subjects, but to a systemic logic in which all must work together. So this program is still under design, and it will have its first edition in February 2021. In addition to the action described above, other actions are beginning and will gain intensity in the coming months. These actions include the following. Scale the Business Plus University program to other business sectors of the Basque Registry priorities. You can see on the left. The process has begun with the machine tool sector as well as with the energy sector through contact with the respective clusters. In this edition of the Business Plus University program, we already have the challenges proposed by the companies belonging to these clusters. The process has also begun with the health sector and the food sector through contact with the Basque Health Cluster. We are already working with the Department of Culture of the Basque Government in the identification of university capacities in the cultural and creative industries sector. And to conclude, we are designing a web platform that allows the program to be fully automated, systemizing the collection of challenges and the dialogue between teachers, business managers, and students. In second place, Lagune's SMEs Plus University program, promotion of the internationalization of Lagune, development of a micro-credential system for tailored training programs, promotion of university vocational training, collaboration, and finally promotion and development of the STEAM Euskadi strategy, STEAM Basque Country strategy. And about our lessons learned, and we could highlight the success factors and our future challenges. Well, regarding the Lagune success factors, we can highlight the first one is co-creation. That means involvement of the faculties and schools that make up the cluster in the whole cycle of the planned initiatives and projects. Co-creation at all levels: governance, strategy, program design, and operations. Secondly, systematization and connection. That means systematization of design and applied process and methodologies in each of the activities. Connection with relevant stakeholders of the Basque Science, Technology, and Innovation Network, and continued coordination with the Basque Industry 4.0 steering group within the framework of the Basque Country Smart Specialization Strategy, the Basque RIS 3. And the third one, change of mindset, basically showing with the praxis that collaboration together with competition is possible, also in a small region as ours. And finally, regarding our future challenges, the highlights are those included in this slide: stabilizing the cluster for the long term, scaling up the project at European level, transfer these programs to other fields, and involve more societal actors and assessing impact. We should add to those aspects, sharing it with other regions, as I said, scaling up the project to a European level. And trying to learning from the experiences from others. So I think more or less that's all. Thank a lot for your attention. We are very happy to share with more information in case you were interested in. So thank you.
So thanks to our experts. Thanks to our experts, Igor and Ruth. Now we are going to open the floor for questions. I have some questions that I would like to start with, some of them, while our viewers at YouTube start typing their questions, their own questions. I'm going to ask to our experts, all of you, Roberto, Antti, Ruth, and Igor, to give short answers as possible, as much as possible, so that we can have as many questions as we can answered by you, because we want to learn from your experiences. The first question that I would like to do is how to promote trust. That's something that can be, seen in the presentations, that it is needed trust. Professor Roberto said explicitly it is needed, but that's one of the first conclusions that he outlined in his presentation. How can we build trust? Who wants to start answering this question? Perhaps Ruth and Igor? Roberto?
Okay. I think that to build trust, what you need is just to have as many conversations as possible with as many people as possible, in such a way that you can integrate from the early beginning the viewpoints of different people that are called to be engaged in this kind of processes. So for us, we maintain a permanent connection with the deans of the different faculties and schools, with the teachers, with the companies involved, mainly through the sectoral clusters that represent the different interests of the different industrial sectors here in the Basque Country. And what we do is just to be permanently at their disposal, but not only us, but we are always discussing all the different steps in different meetings with the different groups of people, in such a way that every step has consensus. Okay, so whenever we have to make a decision, we provide the overall framework, and then we discuss with as many people as possible, and every decision is made, I insist on this, is made based on consensus and on many different conversations. So we spend a lot of time, particularly us, Ruth and myself, in promoting meetings, but at the same time, we are having many side conversations with all the people that is involved in the process. So this is our recipe for building trust.
Yeah, in some ways, it's co-creation plus co-responsibility plus conversation.
Okay, thank you so much. Roberto, Antti, want to share some of this?
I would say that I completely agree with everything what was said. I think that communication is really important, and you need to communicate really with different stakeholders, different groups, different individuals. Maybe only, I would say that sometimes you don't have time really to find the consensus. I mean, it's very nice to have it, but sometimes you don't have time, to get it. So in that case, you need at least consider that everybody has a feeling that his own interests are not considered, okay? So even if you are not able to get a consensus because you have some time limitation, still you need to consider the interests of everybody. And I think that at the end, trust is still be there. You are not going to lose trust. But if you are not consider the interests of other parties, you can do it just once, and maybe it would be more than enough.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Roberto. Antti.
Yes, I'm also in full agreement with what was said here, and I think trust is simply probably best built by delivering what you promise, and I think this is very important. And also that really that is all about looking at what your real capabilities are, what your real resources are, and delivering things on time. And I think this is also something that universities can learn a lot from the business. Basically, we are maybe not always as good as companies in keeping our own deadlines and achieving our own deliverables. So I think that it's basically one way for us to also learn something new. But yeah, that's probably the only thing that I would like to add here.
Okay, thank you so much. I have another question, and that is regarding the challenges that especially Igor and Ruth described they used between the centers to get innovations that are going to be aligned with the needs of the entrepreneurs. Roberto, on the other hand, mentioned, not sure if I understood fine well this thing, that open innovation could not be an efficient mechanism. I would like to understand how can this be managed so that the challenges really respond to the needs of the real life of the enterprises, and what is the point of view of Roberto regarding this topic?
Okay, maybe I can just start. I think that it was like a small misunderstanding. In my view, open innovation is like a concept that's going really to bring the importance of knowledge sharing. And I think that open innovation, it's good, but we need to consider something, that we have to work with the companies and we need to have to work with the universities or with the government. When you speak with the government and with the university, most of the time, open innovation, it's not a problem. Okay, we are very keen to go for publication, for sharing our knowledge and so on. But when you work with the companies, sometimes for them to be open, it's not really the best solution, because they are a little bit maybe afraid that they're going to lose their knowledge, and based on that they're going to lose an opportunity to make profit. Okay, so if they're going to see that they can lose profit, I'm not pretty sure they are really so keen to go for an open innovation. But still, I think that even for the companies, open innovation is going to be more and more present, and they are also seeing the opportunity that sometimes even to allow that knowledge is going out of the company, that's going to be used by some other organization, can be even good for them. Because at the end, you can share the knowledge, and on one side, you are going to give to them, but on the other side, you get this knowledge back. I mean, a new knowledge. So if you don't give anything, probably would be much more difficult to get anything back. That's my.
That's okay. I'll give an example of that point. Roberto, we established something called an open innovation center in wash care. So basically laundry care. Sounds like I don't know how interesting that is as an area, but it's with a company called Bosch Siemens Hausgeräte that are producing washing machines in Berlin. And this company said that, look, it's an open innovation center. That means that a competitor can also come in there and basically work on projects, but they couldn't prevent that anyways. Once anything comes onto the market, if there's anything new, the competition will have it anyway, so no problem. But their opinion was simply that, okay, good, by participating with the university, they get other benefits out of it. They get access to the talented, probably the most proactive and talented graduates of the school. They get new ideas from the professors. And if they play their cards right, they can be the one company that anybody with a new innovation will go to. So they don't go to the competition, but they go to BSH instead. Right? So this was their opinion about it. And it's absolutely right that many companies are really, really touchy about this topic. I know that there are many differences worldwide. And I think Germany is probably one of those countries where where there's always somehow a lot of paperwork to be done. You always have a lawyer involved in everything, be it then even something as simple as a master thesis. You always get it somehow. You can write a 10-page document to protect it. So it's always about how you present it, I think, and how you negotiate the setup with the company.
Yeah. So, just to add something, because I fully agree with what you have already said. Just to answer a follow-up question, that how we ensure that the challenges are in the real world. Of course, all the challenges that the students are working on are challenges that have been proposed by companies themselves. So they are real problems that they have, and they need a solution for those problems. Of course, they know that those challenges will be tackled by students, so they have to dimension properly, the scope of the problem that they are proposing. But as far as we are iterating this and having more and more experience, we are seeing that the companies are repeating in sending challenges to us. So this is the good indication that they are getting, let's say, solutions, keeping in mind that those solutions are provided by students. This is one aspect. Then, regarding this problem of or this issue regarding open innovation and the trust that sometimes companies think that they are losing when they are sharing, their challenges and their problems. Here we have found two different approaches. I think we have found, even in one case, we are working with, from the very beginning, even just to give us the challenges, we have to sign down a non-disclosure agreement with the companies and with the deans of the centers and with the professors that are going to read just the challenges. Just to read the challenges. So we have to do that in some cases, okay, because there are some companies that they are very jealous of their know-how, and they think that just by sharing their problems, maybe they are giving clues, about their strategy, their market, and so on and so forth. And then another key issue for us regarding this is that we tend to work closely with the clusters. In the Basque Country, we have this cluster culture, which the cluster represents all the interest of a particular industrial sector. For example, we have the aeronautics cluster, the automotive cluster, the machine tool cluster. So I think they have installed this culture of open innovation, and when we deal with the cluster instead of with the companies, somehow the cluster is filtering, the company interest, and they are also somehow providing trust for the companies that they will be very well represented and that they will take care of all these issues regarding the confidential information and so on and so forth. So this is our experience in this regard. I don't know if Ruth, you want to add something about this.
Okay, we have time for a couple more questions. The first that I would like to do is regarding the domestic knowledge that Roberto in some point mentioned. What is the advantage of having this relationship between domestic institutions coupling with domestic problems at the companies? What is the advantages of this, and not to bring from outside this knowledge? I would like to have a discussion about it.
Okay, maybe I will just start. If you are in Germany, everything is easy because you have like a brand name made that Germany is quality, okay? So I think that if you are a German company, it's not a problem to work with the German higher education institution or research institution. When you're going to the south of Europe, I can say south of Europe, not just Slovenia, then the perception is a little bit different. Like the knowledge is going to be from somewhere else, it's like a gold, but something that's going to be like a local, it's like, so, you know, it's not like so good, okay? And because I'm the company, I'm very much focused on the international market and blah, blah, blah. So maybe, you know, if you're going to work with foreign research institution or university, I will get like better solutions. But I don't think that's so. And the simple reason is that for many problems, you need to know the context. And somebody who is coming from the outside, he doesn't know the context, or he cannot understand the context. So maybe they have good knowledge, maybe even better knowledge, but they don't understand the context of the problem. And from that point of view, I will always say that domestic institutions know much better what is the context of the problem than the institutions that are coming from outside. But that's my view, my experience.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Is there any other, perception about this? Perhaps experience of Igor and Ruth, because you, as I understand, are making this match between the local institutions, between the local enterprises. Have you ever tried to bring from outside this knowledge? What is your experience regarding this? Can you tell us?
Well, I mean, coming back to what I said before, in our experience, when we have worked with, when we are working, because we are now currently working with, for example, a international or multinational or transnational company, they are the ones that want to have this NDA before we have anything with them and with the students and with the faculties. Whereas when we are working with the local companies, we don't have that problem. Okay, so they trust the process because they know that we are supported by the past government, and I think that they just, the information flows in a very, easy way. So I think, as Roberto said, this is when we are talking about innovation ecosystems, or regional innovation ecosystems, this is very context dependent. It is not the same as we can manage it here in the Basque Country, or, for example, what it is happening or what can be in Germany or in Finland or in UK. Okay, so because there are, I think, cultural factors that are very important in dealing with innovation, which in fact is how we manage change, how we introduce new processes, or how we tackle challenges or problems. So I think this is very cultural dependent, and I think this can, this introduce peculiarities that are different from what we are doing in the Basque Country, or what they are doing in Germany or in Finland or maybe in Colombia, which I think maybe we have a different innovation landscape that can bias the whole process. Okay, so I think this is very important, and for this reason, I think these local aspects are very, very not only important, but I think they are very relevant and decisive for the success of the process of generating these innovation ecosystems.
Very good. And the last question that I would like to ask to you is regarding the fact or the situation in which the academy should be, or is called to be, the center, the hub for this interaction between the different actors. I can say the government, the companies, and the same in the academy. How can academies, which kind of mindset should be set up at the academy for that to happen? What do you think?
Can I say, I would say that the mindset that they have is that they have to start thinking from the demand and not from where they are good at, okay? Because I think the tendency in the academic world is that we are very good at this and that, and then we expect that the world will be willing to have our knowledge, our expertise, and so on. And I think they have to start thinking from the demand side, from what industry is demanding and from what society is demanding, in order to engage with companies or with civil society organizations, depending on the field in which you are working on. So for me, the shift that they have to have is to start thinking from the demand side instead of thinking from what they are very good at. This is what I think.
Very good. Any other point of view regarding this?
Yeah, like I said, that I just fully agree with what was said on that. What was my idea? What was our experience? That if university is not going to take at the center point, because companies have this up and down, so they have this different business cycle, so they can lose interest in that at a certain point when they have some market problems, market issue, or internal issue, or what. So that's the reason why I think that university is a much better position to take a central role in that business ecosystem. And but I agree that we need to go a little bit down on the field, not be up somewhere in the heaven, and really to talk, with the market, to talk with the industry in order to understand what they want and what they need. And sometimes this is a little bit of a problem for us because, like academicians, we really think that, we are like the smartest guy in the city.
Yeah.
But that's not what it really needed in that case.
Okay.
It's much more what we need is like a kind of empathy, maybe, I don't know, that you understand what is the needs of the local community, what is the needs of, let's say, companies that are working there and so on. More like that, if I'm going to publish this paper or if I'm going to do that, then I will go from the assistant professor to be a full professor or something. So we need a little bit to adapt also our interests.
Okay, thank you so much. Now I would like to say a big thank you to all of you to participate in this initiative, in this event. We are very pleased with this result. We shared a lot of, experiences as the objective of this panel was, and I'm very pleased to have you here. So thank you so much again, and we will keep in touch, so on for different things that we're going to develop. As I told you before the conference, we are very interested in work together with you in different things. So thank you so much again, and we will meet afterwards, perhaps. So thanks to the people who connected to this conference too, and to all the people that make possible this in the technical aspects and everything. So thank you again, and goodbye for now. I'm going to ask the people to stop the transmission now. So thank you, Igor, Ruth, Roberto, and Antti. We'll meet later, as I told you. So goodbye then. And it was a pleasure for me to meet you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.